So as we have said at the beginning of the Mass, we are celebrating the feast of Jesus Christ, the King of the universe. And with that feast, we end the liturgical year. And maybe we can ask ourselves, what does it mean that Jesus Christ is the King of the universe? To answer that question, maybe we can say something before, just a simple thing. We can know who someone pretends to be by the words that this person says. For example, if someone says, I find you guilty of this crime, and I sentence you to go to prison for 2 years. If someone says that, we know that this person pretends to be a judge. Maybe this person will be a judge or maybe not. But with these words, this person is pretending to be a judge. So, with the words that Jesus Christ says, and we have heard in the gospel, what can we say about Jesus? Well, we can say that he pretends to be king. He says that he's king. But if we go through the words that Jesus Christ says in the gospels, not only what we have heard today, but all the words that Jesus Christ says, then we can realize that with these words, Jesus Christ pretends to be not only the king of a certain place, but the king of the universe, the king of creation. With his words, Jesus Christ pretends to be God. With his words, Jesus Christ put himself in the place of God. And that's the reason why the Jews decide to crucify him, to kill him, because that was a scandal. That man is saying that he is God. So, with the words that Jesus Christ says, we understand that he's saying that he is King of the universe, that he is God. And I want to share with you something that I watched on the TV. It was a testimony of a Japanese woman who went to the United States to study at the university. While she was studying in the United States, she was living with a Christian family. That woman came from a Shintoist family, so there was no Christian education, there was no Christian formation, so she didn't know anything about Christianity. But she went to the United States and she was living with a Christian family. And then she encountered Jesus Christ and she went through a process of conversion. And at the end, that Japanese woman decided to be baptized. And I was listening to her testimony. And when she was talking about her conversion, he said that. He said, I accepted Jesus Christ as my Savior and my only Savior. She said that. She didn't say, I accept Jesus Christ as my Savior. She said, I accepted Jesus Christ as my Savior and my only Savior. Not a Savior between other Saviors, not a God between other gods, but I accepted Jesus Christ as my Savior and my only Savior, as God and the only God. So saying that Jesus Christ is the King of the universe has to do with this, has to do with accepting and recognizing that Jesus Christ is not only God, but he is not God between other gods. He is the only God. And when we're talking about those things, sometimes there are mainly two thoughts that can come to our mind. I don't know if that happens here, but in Europe, these kind of thoughts usually come to the mind of the people when we're talking about this, not only in Europe, also in America. And I think that these kind of thoughts are also present here in Japan. When we're talking about this, sometimes people tend to think that speaking this way is not an offense to people who doesn't believe that Jesus Christ is God, because I'm saying that Jesus Christ is the only begotten God. He's the only God. He's the Savior, and He is the only Savior. And sometimes we can think, but is it not an offense to the people who doesn't believe this? And the second thought that sometimes comes to our mind is that this way of thinking has led us in history to many wars. So thinking in that way will not lead us to any good place. So that thought also can come to the mind of the people. What do we say? What can we answer to this way of thinking? Well, we as Christians recognize that Jesus Christ is not a God between other gods, but we recognize that He is the only God. We recognize that He is not one Savior between many Saviors. We recognize that He is the Savior. We recognize He is the King of the universe. So to answer those kind of thoughts, there are many ways of answering that. But just a very simple way of answering this can be my own testimony. I have many friends who are Muslims. I have friends who are atheists. And now that I live in Japan, I'm beginning to make friends who are Buddhists, some Shintoists. So I have many friends who are not Christians. I have many friends who doesn't recognize that Jesus Christ is God. And the truth is that I'm able to talk with them about God. I'm able to talk with them about Jesus Christ. Actually, I do that. And they talk to me about their own religious tradition. And I try to do that with love. And that has been something that has never been an offense for the other, but the other way around. Has been something that has enriched the relationship between us. That has been always a way of finding similar things in the way we think about God. It has been also an opportunity for me to get to know deeper other religious traditions. And also, when that friendship has been like very close, it has been also an opportunity for me to pray with them. I've prayed with Muslims. I have prayed my own prayers and my own way of praying, but I've been able to share my prayer with Muslim people, for example. So it has never been something that has offended anyone. It has been something that has led us to a conflict or a war between us, but the other way around. So the interreligious dialogue, when it is made with love, will be always a way of enriching everybody, a way of like approaching everybody, not the other way around. So when we celebrate the feast of Jesus Christ as the King of the universe, we as Christians recognize not only that He is the King of the universe, but that He is the King of the universe. He is our Savior and our only Savior. And we are grateful to Him for that. And we also ask Him to be able to share that with love, especially with those people who doesn't believe that. But we also ask Him to be able to be apostles and to be able to approach people to God by talking about Jesus Christ with these people.